Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast, or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast Five Rings, Obsidian, joined by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
Hey, everyone.
The Dark Fortune Duelist Meta, who's going to leave today after our first topic.
Oh, Yar, my bad. I forgot to push the talk.
He's there. And the resident...
I'm already gone.
And the resident wildcard Mal.
Yo, yo, yo.
So, as Meta is a line, if you've listened to our episode where we took the What Clan Are You quiz, we thought it would be no better than for Meta to start us off today, and because he has to leave. So, just to be honest with you, like the line would. So, go ahead, Meta. Yeah. What's your topic?
Well, I think you can guess it might be something L5R related, and that L5R thing is the fiction that just came out yesterday.
Yay! Also, a quick note. I hope all of you who didn't get into the initial ticket run for Gen Con will get in now, because by the time you hear this, FFG has already put up new tickets, and they have gone on sale, and they are more than likely sold out. So, anyways, go ahead, Meta.
Thank God we won't know about it by the time I can get in there. Whew. All right, so so the fiction came out this week. And I got to kind of read this because I remember, like, I didn't start with like any of the starting fictions at all when the stuff was coming out. Like, I kind of started the Destroyer War, and technically I started after that. I just happened to go back and read the Destroyer War to get like an idea of things that happened prior, although it never benefited me in any way. So it's kind of interesting to actually read this now and kind of like see how it's sort of the same thing that's happened already, but there are slight variations to it. I like Satori. He's decent.
He's decent.
Yeah, he's decent. Arso was decent before he got, shot in the face. Suko is Matsu-like. I don't know. Like, I just...
So why don't you tell us what happened in the fiction first?
All right, so pretty much it starts off with... it's taking place in a battle at Toshi Rambo, more of a skirmish than anything else, but Arso, who is the current clan champion for the Lion, is leading said assault. Satori was brought out to kind of help provide aid and whatnot, but he opts to start off his little job by just simply watching it and waiting for the perfect moment to strike, which, being a lion makes sense, though it doesn't go all that well hand in hand with Suko, who is a little bit more on the fiery, temptress side of things. Long story short, they do make the pincer attack that finally goes into play, helps push back the crane, who eventually have to fall back to Toshi Rambo, but Satori, who decides that they probably shouldn't press the attack, all things considered, is immediately negated by his brother, who says, "You think too much," which is a running theme in this, and opts to go for the charge, which is met with an arrow through his skull by said crane champion.
First body, then skull, right?
Yeah, first body, then skull.
I think it pierced his shoulder.
Yeah, he goes through his chest first, and then the second one goes right through his eye. So,
and Horu is crying the whole time.
Yeah, so they ending up having to kind of fall back, recognizing kind of just like how hard that of a blow that was to them, even in just a small skirmish. And they end up having, obviously it hands over control of the Lion clan effectively to Satori, but they fall back. They end up talking a bit about this in camp, which the only voice who really wants to push for, you have to go to war now, we can't just let this shit slide, is Suko, who was to be betrothed, or was currently going to be married to said clan champion before his recent decease.
And they definitely imply that there was like a true romance, not just the Rokugani, you two are getting married.
Yeah,
thing.
There was definitely a good implication.
She was she's the Matsu daimyo.
Yeah, yep. And what's interesting that the fiction does is kind of contrast Hodoru's like idealistic version of romance with how Suko feels when she sees Arso die. It's not like that whole whimsical, like melodramatic, oh no, she's obviously concerned for him, but she's also concerned about the clan. You can tell based on her thoughts from that perspective. It's just a neat contrast that the two fictions had, I thought.
Yeah. Very interesting. And essentially, I mean, like, going through it, they talk a little bit. There's obviously some forced voices on what side to take, and eventually it leads down to what does Satori have to do, because the ultimate problem that he realizes, and I think one of his advisors even tells him, is that this could cause a schism if he doesn't make an action that approves of the majority of the lion.
Yeah, and I believe it was Matsu Agatoki who told him that.
Yeah.
He gets a letter from Hataru.
Oh yeah,
because they were, I guess they're friends, which is probably part of the reason why she was so distraught, and asking him what he's gonna do.
Well, and then there was the weird, they worded it oddly. It was like a friend of my heart or something.
A potential red herring romance. Maybe a young romance.
Or just, maybe a young romance that eventually just became the two of them are really good friends. And, obviously, like, hey, you're my best friend, but I shot your brother in the face with an arrow. Not exactly a conversation.
And you also happen to be in the Lion Clan, the one that continuously swears blood feuds and would probably go insane with revenge over this. So
it's like, I actually want to kind of bring this up a little bit because, like, there's always the stereotypical line or like honor. They'll serve the emperor, even if like the emperor might be corrupted a bit because lion. I'm really interested in the fact that they even brought up the concept of a schism, like that the lion are so honorable that they would no doubt serve their clan champion, would potentially schism because the clan champion decides that no, this is the route we're going to take, and they might not like that.
Well, and it's core to the to what drama you usually get from the lion of who do you follow? Like what you have two lords that are both being honorable, but they're both going in opposite directions. Which one do you side with? And the schism itself is a very
well, I see, like,
forward metaphor for not metaphor, but
I guess my problem with that is that like technically the only lords they serve are the emperor, and then they also serve their clan champion, and then you have your mini lords who go down the chain of command. But at the end of the day, the emperor's not telling either of them to fight over Toshi Rambo, so there's no need for them to go on full-out war. And in fact, it's even mentioned that going on a full-on war without going through the right channels would actually look bad on them as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
But barring that, if their clan champion says we don't go to war, you either agree with him regardless of your own thing, and that is considered to be the honorable, stereotypical duty thing to do for a samurai, or you don't agree with him, cause a schism, cause infighting before you even get to an actual war, because that's what will happen, at least in real life situations that have happened in history. You can do anything you want with fiction and a magical samurai world, but you cause a schism, and then you either have effectively a revolution within the lion, or you have somebody bag the clan champion, put somebody who will do what they want on the throne, and then move from there. And it's just interesting because it's almost hypocritical for them to say, and I like this for what it is. It's hypocritical for them to say we're the most honorable thing, and the first thing that happens in this fiction is like, if you don't choose the right option, that's fine, but you're going to cause a schism, and then people are going to be pissed off, and they may not do what you want them to do, even though we're supposed to be the most honorable clan, and then we follow what honor and duty commands.
Yeah, and Toturi has that kind of moment where he's basically like, to call back on what you were saying a little bit earlier, Meta, that if they do try to not do this through the proper channels, then they're going to lose massive amount of face, because basically Arso charged after them in trying to start a war that hasn't been sanctioned by the Emperor. So his death is completely on him, and they have to they can't really do the whole blood feud, like, you killed our champion, we demand revenge kind of thing, just because he did that.
Yeah. The Crane gets to claim self-defense.
Yeah, I mean, and that they even point that out, and you made a good point, Mal. They even point that out. There's like the Crane will literally just claim self-defense. We were defending ourselves. Yeah. You started this fight. You came at us. We just defended ourselves and happened to kill your champion in the process. But that's the price of war.
Indeed.
Title drop.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that Hataru. They made it ended up being Hataru, because
I do too.
The fact that they're friends, it just creates prime samurai drama.
Yeah,
delicious samurai drama.
That was a good change that they made to kind of like the previous history.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're gonna try and connect maybe at least for the foundation is or all the stories connect some way to different clan champions or something even.
Yeah.
'Cause
How did it happen in the original fiction? Like, how did Araso die?
It's in the Way of the Lion book from the first edition RPG. He just basically he died in pretty much the same way, but the Hodori was never at that battle. He never like revealed himself, and they were like, we have to hunt them down. If we can capture a champion, then we can win this battle and take Toshi Rambo. He literally just got in over his head, charged into like a bad situation because of his pride.
He comes off very Matsu-like.
Yeah, and then got killed. Yeah, he was very Matsu-like in this fiction, which the fiction says, kind of. And even in the original canon, he was like that. So he's very much, like, pretty much the same. So yeah, that was, to have it not be, like, some no-name, I think it was Daidoji Spearman killed him in the old one. To have it be Hotaru was real. I mean, it didn't say Daidoji Spearman. It was like 3 or 4 Daidojis basically just pincered him in. And I don't think Todori was at that battle either. I think he was still in the monastery. I think they also made Todori the older brother in this one, and he was the younger in the previous one, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that.
I think I read that he was older in both.
Okay, he might be. I thought I saw someone talking about that somewhere, but I wasn't actually sure.
Because I think it was that he ended up like going to study with the monks before their father was officially moved to daimyo status or something like that, and because of the way the training worked out, he didn't. I'm not sure, but I think it was something like that.
To encapsulate my brief thoughts on it, because I think I was the hardest one on the first fiction out of all of us, probably. I like this one a lot better. It was my complaint is still that it was a little too samey, but like we were talking last time, it's probably just going to happen on these first fictions because they want to connect to the old audience and give them something they've heard before, and also do a good job of introducing the clan to the newer players.
They just have to balance it too, because like I've already seen tons of the discussion that what they've changed is too much already.
Which is crazy. Yeah. I would never argue that. No, the fiction was great. It was written very well. My favorite parts was the second half of the fiction where you were really inside Todori's head. You got the really cool like visual descriptions, like the metaphors of his thought process as a weakness, and how he kind of agrees with Arso that he does think too much, and he worries that it's going to be a burden that he can always visualize all these possibilities. They did a lot to humanize him a lot more than they did in the previous fictions, because the way that they did it. Good. I was just going to say, because it started, basically the old L5R started with Totori already being a Ronin, so you didn't really get to, I mean, you followed him, he ended up being the hero and stuff, but you never really got in his head and in his psyche and his psychology this way, so it was just really cool to see. Yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about the way that they showed his thought processes and stuff, like, there were some words that they used that invoked imagery almost of, because I know that in the original fiction, he would see dragons. Dragons would visit him often. And so, like, they kind of worded it in such a way to, at least for me, kind of invoke that same imagery without the dragon actually being there. Like, there was, I can't pull, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I can't find the exact phrasing that was used. But, yeah, like, some of the ways that they worded it, it just, to me, it reminded me of the times when he did, like, see a dragon in the falls with Hatsuko, his, the geisha girl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was just it did such a good job of showing off what the Lion are, and also one of my favorite aspects about the Lion and what makes them one of my favorite clans is their whole this duality of being both a samurai and a human and having to struggle to be both at the same time and coming short of the expectations that the Empire and your clan and your ancestors have for you. Because one of the best lines was about Todori. It was, I think it was in his mind. I can't remember exactly, but it's like, the lion is a claw, his heart, his mane, like his teeth, so on and so forth. Or he's not just these things; he's all of them. So it's kind of like showing you that the lion hold themselves up to this high regard. Yet at the same time, Todori is so concerned about his humanity and his weakness, and that he thinks too much. I just thought that was a really good job of showing what makes them interesting, whereas most people kind of find them as the generic, boring, standard vanilla samurai clan.
I kind of hope that like this kind of goes back to like what I was talking about in the podcast when we were talking about like, you know, the one thing we don't like about L5R or something we just don't like. And I was talking about Shoryudo, and this goes kind of back to that a little bit for me, is that I like it when they show samurai are just as human as any of us, and that it's very hard to be honorable. because being honorable requires you put aside your own humanity and you do things that you may not agree with but go through with anyway, because that's what being a samurai is. It's very easy to act on yourself, to follow your own loyalties, to say no just because you disagree. It's very hard to be a samurai because regardless of what you think, somebody else said this, you have to act upon that. And you have to make a choice that if you are going to betray those commands, if you are going to go against it, you have to be very certain that what you are doing is actually going to be for the betterment of everything, and know that maybe even in the end you might just get beaten down and forever be, at least in history's eyes, forever be an enemy. And I like the fact that they show humanity in this, and I hope they continue to do that through the series, because I want it to be, at least in my eyes, I want it to be where honor is a very hard thing to be, and that those standards are very high.
Yeah.
And I like that Suko made it look so easy and Toturi made it look so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some discussion on that people didn't care to, or that they didn't like being so in Champion's head. They liked to be more of distant figures, but I like how much we're getting to know the champions.
I do too.
Yeah.
They're going to be like your coolest cards in the card game, so I mean, it makes sense for them to early on invest in a lot of time, because it makes you want to play those cards. So I agree with Mal. I think it's really awesome.
I'm just interested to see going forward, like if we're always going to have, like if the champions are going to be the core
Focus
protagonists and focus or whatever, or if we're going to see more, we're going to start seeing more.
I bet we'll branch out
runs.
because so far we've seen two people that were formerly involved with the card game. Now, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself. FFG can do whatever they want with the fiction, the story. It's a lot of it's in Katrina's hands, but she seems like she knew a lot about L5R when it was in AEG's hands, and they have captured some of the spirit of it. So I bet we'll see more personalities and stuff.
I think for the storytelling side, if they do keep close to the clan champions, I mean, that does have its pros where you kind of get to follow a little bit more of a solid narrative instead of kind of splitting off. And so it allows them, in a way, not to say, like, obviously it could be executed poorly, anything can, but in a way it allows them to kind of give us an actual story to follow. And if the characters die or something happens to them, it's a little bit harder because we've been there through them both thick and thin.
Right.
One could say it's less cattywampus.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't. Just stop.
A nice non-cattywampus linear narrative.
Oh my god. But I mean, like, obviously if you do split off, you do get to see a little bit outside of things that are happening outside of the clan. So I think, I mean, you're not going to please everybody. There's going to be some people who are like, I want them to split. There's going to be people who are like, no, I think it'd be really cool just to follow the clan champions more so than anything else. And you might find people who's in between. Yeah. But you won't please anybody.
I don't think I have a leaning quite yet, but I'm just curious to see how they'll go.
I will be so neutral, it will hurt.
Yeah. Another thing I liked was that it's already taken. This was weeks after the previous story, which means that it's not going to be a slow glacial pace, maybe, or at least we'll have to see how it keeps going, but it kind of gives the indication that maybe things can actually happen at a reasonable pace, whereas because a lot of IPs, they never want to change their story, it seems like 40K was extremely bad about it, where nothing ever changed in the narrative until now. They're starting to they're changing that. But yeah, so I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Agreed.
All right. Do we have anything else to say about this? Final thoughts?
I can't think of anything.
No, I think I got everything out I had to say about it. I mean, beyond the fact that I probably still won't care if they die. I've never been really interested in the clan champions themselves or the characters.
Oh, and next week is also Lion Spotlight, where they push back the mechanics post, which I believe which makes them officially decide that Lion are the best because they get 3 weeks.
that week delay. So yeah, I was kind of hoping we get to see some of the at least spoilers. We didn't really get any spoilers this week either.
Not so much, just the one Reddit spoiler. Night Raid.
Yeah, the one province, the Fire 4 province strength that if the attacker attacked into it, he discarded cards equal to the number of personalities he was attacking with. if I remember correctly. Seems good. Seems like one of the, if it's what people are suspecting, and you have to have, you only get one element on each of your provinces, then it's going to be a really good one for defensive decks. So, I mean, very controlly.
Yeah.
Very good against possibly swarming lion.
Exactly. Maybe that's why they previewed this one. Show a little bit of balance here. I can't wait to see Satori next week. See his card finally.
Yeah, I believe that's why they delayed it.
Yeah, we haven't really seen.
Spoiler.
Yeah, we haven't really seen many line personalities. I'm hoping Suko's one as well would be really nice.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we could get Agetoki as a cavalry card, since he was a cavalry last game.
I don't know any of the really original story stuff, but I saw a lot of people happy that with the name drops from the old one.
Yeah, you had Motso, Kitsu Motso, Agetoki, Toturi, obviously Arso, and Suko. The only one we didn't get was Ikoma Sanuri, who was she was a
take your word on it.
Toturi student in the original Clan War storyline, or when some of the line ended up falling to Tainted Emperor and some ended up staying loyal to the line. I believe it was Motso and Sanuri who were the leaders of the armies and were at odds constantly because Suko had commit seppuku basically.